Hi guys, today we have another video. Yes, it's gonna be another phone collection video. It's been since July 20th since my last phone collection video. So yeah, uh, this took me probably I would say 15 minutes to set all of this up. I have 40 phones now. Pretty cool. Well, 40 devices in my phone collection. Not all of them are phones, but yeah, I'm gonna get started. This could be by brand. No alphabetical. I'm not sure about years, so yeah, it's just gonna be somewhere in the border by brand. But starting off, we have. Sorry about the bad lighting, also. But first, we have a Samsung uh, Transform. This thing does not work. I think it has a bad motherboard. So I bought a battery for it off eBay. There's nothing wrong with the battery. It does not heat up on the charger since I plugged it in for charge it for 18 hours and did not do anything on the charger. I know that for it's not charger the plug, but moving on, we have a Samsung SGH S150G. It's on TracFone. That's on Sprint. This thing works perfectly fine. Next up, we have a Samsung. Sorry about the bad frame rate. I'm using my tablet. It's only 30 FPS. It's at 1080p though, so yeah. Next up, we have a Samsung SGH S125G on TracFone. Works perfectly fine. Next up, we have a Samsung GT S3370. Has a few model names. I think it's a European phone, and it's unlocked. I got that at the garage sale yesterday. Another garage sale phone I got yesterday at the exact same garage sale as that one. Samsung SCH i760 on Verizon. I took out the battery since it was super bloated. I threw it out for safety precautions since that was a very bad battery. And if you're wondering what that noise is, it's a washing machine. So yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty cool phone. It's a Windows phone too. Next up, we have a Samsung. This thing works. Samsung SCH A390 on Verizon. I'm not going to be turning on any of these phones. This does work perfectly fine. But both of those two phones over there are untested. Those two Samsungs. Next up, we have a Samsung. Actually, one second. Let me open up the phones. I'm not going to open up well, let me let it focus. Okay. I'm not going to open up the Samsung SCH A390 since it doesn't have a battery in it. I can take the battery out of the S125G, but I'm not. Oh, this is a Samsung SGH A777. This thing works perfectly fine. Oh, and that Samsung also works perfectly fine. The SCH A390. Next up, moving on to Apple, we have a iPhone 4S on Verizon. It's on iOS 9.3.5. And I believe it's activation locked in, has an iCloud on it. So yeah, that sucks. Next up, we have an iPod Touch 4th generation, black 8GB on iOS 6.1.6. Works perfectly fine with a cracked screen. Next up, we have and a few minor dead pixels. Next up, we have a 32GB white iPod Touch 4th generation. This is on iOS 6.1.6. That also works perfectly fine with a few dead pixels on the screen. Next up, we have a iPod Touch 4th generation white 8GB. This thing's actually in really good condition. Even though it has scratches, it's just great condition for one of these. This works perfectly fine. Oh, it's not work perfectly fine, but it does work. It's just stuck on the restore the iTunes screen. It's not perfectly fine, but it works. Next up we have an iPod Touch 2nd generation on iOS 3.1.3, which is rare. This thing works perfectly fine, just it's stuck on the Restore to iTunes screen. Next up, we have an iPod Nano 3rd generation black, 8GB, I think. Next up we have an iPod Shuffle 1st generation, 512MB. That thing works perfectly fine too. Okay, moving on to Nokia. We have a Nokia Lumia 830 on AT&T. Works perfectly fine. Next up, I keep forgetting what this is. I think it's a Nokia Lumia 530. I forgot the carrier. But it works perfectly fine. Next up, we have a Nokia 3360. Yeah, Nokia 3360 on Singular. And then next up, we have a Nokia 33. Nokia 8260 on AT&T. Untested for both of those. And all the Apple devices work. Next up, we have a Nokia 100AU. This thing is untested, and it's a brick. Moving on to Motorola, we have a Motorola E 2nd Gen on T-Mobile. Works perfectly fine. I realize I've been saying some of the versions on these. Well, actually, I just got onto I actually haven't even. I don't know the versions of the Windows. I said all the versions on the app. Yeah, so this thing runs Android 6.0.1. Next up, moving on, we have a Motorola i580. Yeah, Motorola i580 on Nextel. This thing does not work. Next up, we have a Motorola E815 on Verizon. This thing is untested. Next up, we have a Motorola i580 on Nextel. This thing is untested. Next up, we have a Motorola TimePort. I forgot the carrier, and I don't know the model number, but it's a Motorola TimePort, untested. Now moving on, we have LG. First, we have an LG Cosmos 2 on Verizon. Works perfectly fine. Well, it's stuck in a boot loop, but I also didn't charge other ways, but it works. Next up, we have an LG Cosmos. This thing works perfectly fine. It's on Verizon. Next up, we have a LG Expression on. I forget, an LG Expression on AT&T. Oh, actually, I forgot to open up the phones. Okay, now I open up the phones. This thing works. Oh yeah, I already said that. This thing works perfectly fine. It's untested. It's an LG VX3200 on Verizon. I got that out of, I think, the Target bin. Yeah. Now moving on to HTC. We have an HTC. Oh, let me focus. Let the camera focus. Next up, we have a HTC Desire 626 on Boost Mobile. This thing, I think, works perfectly fine on Android 6.0.1. Next up, we have an HTC. This is the one I just got. What happened to the camera thing? Hold on. I guess the back metal camera thing has broken off. That's sad, but this is an HTC Desire. No, not HTC Desire. HTC. I thought an HTC AT&T fuse. It's an AT&T fuse, but I call it HTC fuse. Works perfectly fine. It's on Windows Mobile 6.1. I know that for a fact. Just an HTC. This thing also works. I took the battery off that and put it inside this one. This is the one I got at the garage sale yesterday, along with those two Samsungs. Got at the exact same sale. I got at the exact same garage sale as those two Samsungs. This thing works perfectly fine. Well, I'm not sure perfectly fine since I even started it up all the way, and I had not charged the battery that was in it. I know it works. Next up, we're moving on to phone brands that don't have enough to be in their own. Between these phones, I only have one of. First up, we have a Doro Phone Easy 626 on Consumer Cellular. Does not work. Next up, we have a Sharp FX Plus on AT&T. Works, but it needs a battery. I just plugged it in. Next up, we have a Kyocera S2300. This has a few model names, but I'm not sure the exact one. It's on Common Sense Mobile. Untested. Next up, we have a Casio G-Zone Brigade. Untested. Next up, we have this little MP3 player. This thing only works on charger. Next up, we have a BlackBerry 8310. I think it's a classic. Or curve, I'm not sure. Bulleted battery, and it's untested. And I have a good feeling it won't work. I got that at the garage sale, along with the HTC and the two other Samsungs over there also. Next up, we have a AudioVox or a UT Starcom CDM8940 untested. Still one of my favorite phones. Next up, we have a Panasonic KX TGA652 unlocked, since you just hook it up to your phone plan, I guess. Next up, this is more of a pocket PC, but I think it stores phone numbers. I consider it a phone. It's a Palm M100, untested. I got that in a state sale yesterday. If you have not watched the video, please go watch it. Just go into my finds playlist in my channel, and you'll find it there. It's episode 6. So yeah, that was it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed, please go hit the like button, and also comment and subscribe, and hit the notification bell for whenever I make new uploads. And yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed.